Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of the Autoimmune Rehab podcast, where, as always, you can find episode show notes, links, and other resources, as well as information about our guests at autoimmunerehab.com. Today's episode, I am going to be interviewing Lavina Quilliam, which hopefully she'll correct me if I've mispronounced that, who comes to us from the land down under in Australia. And Lavina has a story to share with us about having Graves' disease, which has been something that I've wanted to talk to somebody about, as most of you know that I have Hashimoto's, and Graves' disease is basically the opposite of that. So, Lavina, go ahead, get started, and tell us a little bit about your story.
And you said my name correctly. Thank you. I love it. Which is great because normally people don't. So you did an amazing job there. But with Graves' disease, it was an interesting journey. It started when I was 24, and I went and I just thought it was anxiety. It sort of was panic attack was in my mind because I went out every day. It was very heightened, very like my body was just so much in a state of, panic and just, hyperventilating, anxiety. And, I used to I was always very hungry. So I was just eating. But I was always skinny, so I didn't notice that I was losing any extra weight. I just thought it was fast metabolism. And I just felt like I was going crazy. And I just felt like I was run down and I was getting paranoid. And it was just a really interesting journey that, people think I was just going crazy. But I went to the doctor because I thought, there's definitely something more. And I described my symptoms, and then they referred me to the endocrinologist, who told me that, oh, you have cancer of the nodules. And I was like, what? Cancer at 24? And then it turned out to be Graves' disease.
Wow, so they scared you first by trying to tell you had cancer, and then when you're like, no, wait a minute, I don't know about that. Wow, that's pretty scary because, most of us, any of those of us that have struggled with thyroid disorders, I'm sure you're aware of that. Anybody that's listening that has had thyroid issues knows that if you have any kind of autoimmune of the thyroid, whether it's Graves or Hashimoto's, you are at higher risk for thyroid cancer. But the fact that they would just come right out and tell you had cancer before they even diagnosed you with Graves is actually pretty shocking.
Definitely. And especially I was quite young then. So I was like, what? And then they said Graves' disease, and I thought I was definitely dying then because I didn't know what it was at first.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So describe to everybody who's listening what Graves' disease is. Just explain it to people in case they don't know.
So it's what you said, opposite. So hyperthyroid. It's just, everything's just going in a fast, accelerated rate. And even the eyes. So sometimes our eyes are bulging and things like that. So it's just the immune not, functioning very well.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's kind of basically with the Hashimoto's, your thyroid has really low function. And with Graves, your thyroid basically is on overdrive and you are functioning too high. And so it's like, yeah, they're both autoimmune, but they're basically the opposite of each other. So after this doctor at first told you had cancer, what happened in between that time frame between when he told you that to when you actually found out you had Graves? Did you go to a different doctor, or what did that look like?
Yeah, I actually did, because my original doctor wasn't there. So I went to a lady doctor that told me that. And I was just like, that didn't feel right to me. So then I went to my original doctor, who said, no, it is high. The TS1 is a bit high, but we'll investigate it and we'll get the treatment for it. So it was good calming effect. And I just knew that even though I felt really sick, that it wasn't the cancer.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, that's nuts. So what kind of training did they do? Did they just give you drugs and then say, that's it, we're done?
That's it. They gave the drugs, and then I went because I was young, they thought that will work. And I went every week to the endocrinologist, and for a while, and then I thought I will take the drugs, but I'll also look at my, stress level and really take care of my body as well, like do both. And then quite soon, like after a year, it did work.
Okay, awesome, cool. Yeah, because I know a lot of us as well that have thyroid disorders, we usually discover that, well, the drugs definitely can work and can definitely help. They're not usually the end all be all. You usually have to do a lot of diet changes, other things as well, because unfortunately, well, whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, it can be a lot more complicated to fix a thyroid issue rather than just, here's this pill. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, where is it coming from? And for me, I didn't realize that 24 hours, my body was very, very stressed. So I was looking at that stress reduction as well.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. It's like they say that stress can kill you. It's, you know, a lot of the root cause of a lot of thyroid and autoimmune disorders is some kind of stress and or some kind of trauma, you know. And once you can work on overcoming that and healing that, then that can definitely help impact your life. So where are you at today then? What do you do to help people? Tell us a little bit about what you are working with people on today.
Yeah, so as I've recovered, but I did, when I got the diagnosis, I decided to do a lot of healing. So I've been healing ever since I was 24. So it's 12 years now that I've had one-on-one sessions with healers and coaches and everything to get me to where I am today. It's taken a lot of healing. So now, therefore, after 12 years, I felt it's time for me to now give back to others from what I've learned through my journey, the tools that I've used to overcome it. Because right now, I'm quite fortunate that stress isn't a big thing. I know how to cope and I know how to deal with it. I'm strong enough in my body, and I love to give back to people, because at that time I thought, I don't know what I was going to do. I was just completely, my body was shutting down and I got infections, and I really didn't think that I would get through it. And I always had resilience and really take care of my body completely, 110%. And I know if I can, then other people can do it, because before, my lifestyle wasn't very good. It was a lot of McDonald's every day. So that was a leading factor into the illness as well.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So do you focus on helping people that other people that have Graves' disease, or do you focus on like the whole gamut of people that just have other conditions and want to get better? What is your focus?
The focus is on the body. So yeah, the root of all the illnesses definitely comes from the body, and connecting to the body and asking what it needs and how we can take care of the body and really prioritize the body. So it's more of a holistic thing as well.
That's awesome. I love that, because the reality is that what people sometimes don't realize in the beginning, but then they start to realize once you go through some kind of an autoimmune challenge or something like that, is that innately within us, we know how to help ourselves, and we know what kind of problems we have and we know how to fix it. And sometimes we just need to involve help, and that, you know, can be one thing that can be really frustrated with the medical system and healthcare system, is that sometimes doctors don't want to listen to us because they're like, well, we're the ones that know everything, and it doesn't really matter what you think the problem is. The doctor's going to enforce this thing on you as to what they think your problem is. But the reality is that most of us have a pretty good idea what's going on with our bodies. And even more so, once you've been through an autoimmune challenge, you'd get to the point that you become much more in tune with what's going on. At least I know that's the case it is for me.
Well, absolutely. I first, I neglected it. Then I was like, no, this is boss, and you can definitely connect to it. And it definitely has a lot of wisdom.
For sure, absolutely. So if somebody's listening to this and they're just barely at the beginning of their journey, like maybe they're just been diagnosed, or maybe they haven't even been able to get their diagnosis yet, and they're still trying to get it, and they're frustrated and they're feeling a little discouraged and down, what kind of advice would you give to them?
I would say just put your hand on your heart and just be with yourself and be like, feel the feelings of frustration and anxiety and angry, and you have every right to be, and just go that, help is coming. Don't know when, don't know how, but it's coming. What can I do right now for my body in in the interim while I get this diagnosis? What can I do? What does it need? How can I listen to my body, really take care of it like a beautiful child or wounded animal, and just really take that care of what we can do, and everything else is external. But right now, what can we do to change it for ourselves?
That's awesome. I love that. I've had a couple other guests and had several people talk about, like the whole concept of mindfulness and breathing. And I actually did an episode with a lady who's a reflexologist who actually at the very end did a whole breathing exercise that people can walk through. And so if you haven't listened to that episode, you can go back and listen to it. But yeah, the whole concept of breathing, meditation, just self-awareness, being with yourself, that can be very, very powerful for healing. So, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
On Facebook, I'm a big follower on Facebook, so you can put my name, Lavina Quilliam, on Facebook, or my free Facebook group as well, which is Sacred Body, Logical Minds, and Heart-Centered Being.
Awesome. I love the name of that. Say that one more time and we'll make sure that we link to it in the show notes so people can connect with it.
sacred body, logical minds, and heart-centered beings.
I love that. That's amazing. I love that as a name. That really just, I guess, just has kind of a ring to it. Really just kind of touches base with all the aspects, you know, your body, your mind, your heart, everything. That's really awesome. Cool. Well, we will definitely link that to people. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with people at all?
Yeah, to not give up, to really like, even when you're feeling really like sick and you feel like, just really down, and just know that, there's something greater, like you're going to learn a really big lesson. You don't know it at the time, maybe a decade later, this lesson that you can then share on to others, and to expand, and to feel good and really see the blessings of life, and to have that sense of gratitude and make the most of your life. And for me, every day is an adventure. I now prioritize my life. I don't live, for, tomorrow. I live, make sure like today's my last day. How will I live it? Like really live it to the fullest, not just exist.
That's awesome. I love that. Really live it to the fullest and not just exist. Okay, so let's take that to heart, everybody who's listening, and go ahead and check out the show notes, connect with Lavana and Lavina. Sorry about that. Just mispronounced your
It's all
name.
right.
And yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, absolutely.